So I had a bit of an awakening about the plight of animals probably about 6 or 7 years ago. My wife and I adopted a little dog who really won us over and broke our hearts in the best way. And she'd been in a puppy mill for many years, and something with that kind of clicked with us in terms of us being able to see her plight and connecting that to the plight of countless other animals in, on factory farms and research facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So that, even though I had been interested in environmental sustainability and human rights for many, many years as a middle and high school teacher, this was really a big missing piece for me. But I wanted to learn after this kind of heartfelt opening about awakening to the plight and sentience of animals. I wanted to, number one, be with other folks who felt the same way and to learn from them, but also to kind of gain the skills and knowledge and ability to be able to incorporate that in my own teaching practice. So that's really what attracted me to the program. And the animal protection course was really what I was the most excited about. But interestingly enough, when I got into the program, I realized that it wasn't separate in a certain way from the other courses. It wasn't like I was just kind of making my way through the other mandatory courses to get to this course. Everything was building upon each other and connecting to the other courses to be part of this very, very full picture and lens in which to view the world through. What ends up kind of cracking us open, it seems like a bit of a mystery in some ways. And it seems that it happens to different people in different ways. But the effect usually is the same. It's kind of waking up to this idea, well, there's other life on the planet and we are affecting them, and we can actually do a lot to help and protect them. For my capstone for my MEd program, I decided to create a conference for educators who were interested in animal protection. And the reason I did that is I started to speak to educators across Canada originally who were dabbling in this field and trying to incorporate animal protection, whether it be preschool, middle school, high school, even post-secondary. And people are doing incredible work, but there's a sense of being alone. And so I wanted to bring this sense of community that I had experienced in the IHE program. I wanted to scale that up to a larger level. And so this idea of running a conference where people from around the world could come together and have that same experience, that's really what was driving my capstone project. And so the summer that I was finishing off my degree, I ran the first one, and we attracted over 500 people had registered for it from countries all over the place. We had 2 days of sessions, keynote speakers. It was really a beautiful, magical experience. And then that ended up being repeated the following summer. The first keynote speaker I ever secured was Luis Hoyos, who is the Academy Award-winning director of The Cove, but has also done Racing Extinction and The Game Changers. And I reached out to him on a whim, just assuming that I was never going to hear back. And I heard back from him within an hour saying that he'd love to do it. And that really, for me, just put everything into motion in terms of, yes, this was possible. If somebody of his stature and somebody who's as busy as he is was really interested in this, then I knew other people were going to be in. So then all of these other speakers came on board, these incredible luminaries that I had learned about along the way and had studied their material through my MEd degree. And then I basically started to reach out to these folks, and they all started to come on board, which was a real surprise, but also it was a real privilege to have them. So the course is ever evolving. Right now, we have four main sections. We start off, first section is called Connections, and that is really trying to get us grounded with not only an intellectual, but kind of a very heartfelt connection to non-human animals. Um, and part of that, for example, is a visit to an institution that is protecting animals in some way, and that could be a sanctuary, it could be a wildlife rehabilitation center, it could be a shelter, but trying to set the table for the rest of the course in terms of reminding us of why we're doing this work. And then we move into doing a deep dive into the oppressions of animals, not only for food, but also in terms of for entertainment or for research, for sport. Then we move on to looking at the intersections and the connections to different areas of oppression, such as the connection between racism and the oppression of animals, looking at the oppression of people with disabilities and the connection to animals. And then finally, we end off the course looking at solutions. And this is really taking everything that we've learned and looking at inspiration from other solutionaries and other folks working in this field to design and ideally put into practice our own solution that is relevant to us and is relevant to our own life conditions and where we feel we can have the greatest impact. Looking at speciesism and animal sentience is relatively new for most people. Exploring that and doing a deep dive into that is relatively new. I think what isn't necessarily so new is that empathy piece, that natural innate desire that we have to want to protect life. And so if you have that, if you come into that and you start learning more and more about animal sentience, it only strengthens and gives one confidence in being able to want to go further and further, to want to protect animals. You see students having that change as well in their own way and being supercharged when they come out of the course in terms of usually getting much more clear about where they want to focus their time and energy. Sometimes students will come in and be very inspired, but maybe a little bit scattered in terms of what their next steps are. And the animal protection course and also the whole program helps them kind of get more clear and to focus the lens a little bit more on where they want to go with that. In terms of like some of the key takeaways that we come out with at the other end, I think one of them is a sense of just how complex the field of animal protection actually is. I think for a lot of us, when we get that initial spark, that's great. We're interested in this field, but sometimes we can have, a not too subtle perspective on animal protection and what needs to be done and what are the forces at play. And I think through this course, we really go deep into many, many areas of how complex these issues are, how complex the solutions are sometimes. And also, again, coming back to this, the connection to human rights and environmental sustainability and how all of these work together and can't be looked at separately. And so I think people come out the other side realizing that this is just like a lifelong journey that we're all on and trying to unpack this for ourselves, but also trying to figure out how to work within these very complex systems and to leverage our own sphere of influence, our own life conditions, wherever we may find ourselves, to try and figure out what is the greatest impact that we can make. I personally feel that education is one of the key aspects for making this change, bringing in a kinder attitude and relationship with animals of all kinds. I teach not only at IHE in the animal protection course, but I also teach middle school and high school, and also in the Master of Education program at the University of Toronto. And there's an incredible thirst and interest in this topic. And I feel generally our education system is not meeting students where they are at with this. And as soon as you start to broach these topics, there might be some trepidation or might be some anxiety about doing that, but it's amazing time after time after time. I'm surprised with just how interested and knowledgeable people actually are about this. And they just need a space in order to explore it, in order to talk about it. I just have to look at my classes to see that shift happening. Again, it doesn't matter the age. I see people light up when they talk about and learn about animal protection and when they engage in that work, especially if I look at the students in the animal protection course and the work that they do through the course and then take out into the world as a result of being in the course. It's incredibly inspiring and gives me a tremendous amount of hope. By far, my favorite part of teaching the course is the students. The people who are drawn to this program, some of them have many, many years working in animal protection. Some are relatively new. Some folks are actually running their own sanctuaries or working shelters. Other folks have other careers and are looking at transitioning. There's a huge swath of backgrounds and experiences and stories as to why people came to this course, but the binding agent that we have that creates that sense of community is that we're all really passionate about this, and we want to learn more about what we can do with that passion.